Hi everyone, welcome to the Vylos AI Thought Leadership Series. I'm Hassan Ghiassi and I'm here with David Grimm, my co-founder and CTO. And every episode of the series, we're tackling the fast-moving realities of current AI technology and business strategies in short segments designed for busy decision makers. Now, while Dave and I both live and breathe this space as experts, we're approaching these conversations a little differently. My goal here is to step into these topics with the learner's mindset. So no matter where you are on your journey, whether you're just starting to look at AI or you're already deploying enterprise grade models, I'm going to be asking raw foundational questions and strip away assumptions so that you can learn and come along this journey with us. And David each week is going to bring exciting new possibilities and really be the guide here for AI and his expertise. So with that being said, David, each week is a fast-moving one for AI. This week, what do you feel like is kind of the most interesting thing to call out for people that might be wanting to learn what's possible?
Yeah, so I think it's ongoing, and of course the change is breathtaking. How fast it is. Today, I want to point out that it's not only that these large language models can process text and emails and documents, but they also can process videos, so computer vision, and audio, and also respond in audio. So the human to large language model interface, speech to speech, it's called. And I think it's quite revolutionary already and even more mind boggling. Of course, you have the big providers again, like Google has a voice AI and GPT real time. So the big ones have their big models with which you can talk already in natural language and they respond fast. But I think what's really super interesting is there was a very recent demo from Hugging Face where they showed that you can build a speech-to-speech pipeline using completely open source and open source large language models as a part of this. And I tried it and I also set it up locally, and it's mind-boggling in terms of how good this is. And so to give you another why I'm so excited about this, because a lot of companies still use the phone, obviously. So no matter if you have tasks where your employees need to call someone like outreach or get information from a third party via telephone, or if you still have customers which call you, which is quite common, so a hotline and stuff like this. And up until now, the customers had to go through painful IVR setup. I think we all know this, like, hey, if you have an issue with your device, press 1. If you only want to change your address, press 2. And so it took half an hour before you were through the menu. And if you if you once clicked the wrong one, then you could start over again, and a very painful and horrible experience. And I think today you can even run with your own models in your own environment an AI where it might be fairly hard for a customer even to recognize that they are talking with an artificial intelligence. Probably you need a disclaimer. EU AI Act is calling, for example, but you want to tell your customer probably they are talking to an AI right now, but the conversation will be very natural. So it will say, hey, hello, how can you help you? And I will say, yeah, I want a refund. My thing is broken. And I said, oh yeah, give me the number, blah, blah, blah. So you will have a real conversation with an artificial intelligence. And even more mind-boggling because we work in the automation and we know what you can do with automations in the background, like structuring the data and then do API calls and so on. And this is absolutely usable also for voice agents. It doesn't matter the technology, if it outputs audio or if it outputs text, the underlying technology is the very same. And so you can use the data the customer gives you during this text voice-to-voice interaction and structure it accordingly. So when the customer says, I want my product activated, my name is this and that, then the large language model or the automations behind it can look up the data in the backend already, and even via API calls probably fix the request or solve the request from the customer. So I can talk it, even when you think about it in former times when you were in first level support, and then you said, yeah, I need this and this, and then they said, yeah, this is nothing I can do, I need to connect you, or yeah, we will come back to you. And then the service agent had to open a ticket for the IT team, and the IT team did the fix, and then it went blah blah blah. And you can now give a large language model all of these capabilities. And so you are talking with the right entity already, and it can fix it right away. And you can imagine what this means in terms of user experience when I call a company and my issue is understood and solved and fixed within a minute or two of conversation, without even having to write an email and so on. That's probably a very positive experience for a customer.
For sure. And I mean, I know that me too, I would rather call people. And so what you're saying is that, okay, so if I'm running a business, and if my business, when customers call, it has this horrible dial this number for this, five for that, listen to the whole menu, then you have that. So that's one use case. And then the other use case would be if I am a company, if I have anybody that is dealing with some sort of coordination of sorts, like a call to confirm a certain time, or sending something, or delivered something, like so companies that have lots of, for example, childcare centers, I know this is a big use case for them. So companies that take care of children and might have to find locations for childcare centers in a certain radius and have certain times to pick up and drop off children. And so instead of a human sitting and making those calls out to check the dates and times, you could actually have an AI voice agent doing those calls for you, tracking that, picking the best one, or then providing that to the end customer.
Yeah, absolutely. So the voice agent could reach out there. It structures the information it gets, like, yeah, there's a place free, how much, which time, and so on. It can structure this nicely, update the ERP system, and from there you can do automations like informing your client that it's handled and where to drop your children, for example. In general, this is, not all businesses are super digital and hyper connected already. So every time so this was a good example, because usually in childcare centers you don't have a server running, processing automated requests or something like this. And this is the case for a lot of companies still. And with this technology, now this is the thing behind it. Your voice, or the humans, become the API kind of. So you can reach out and get information from a human on the voice line. And this is kind of comes back structured for automation, for API intersection, and so on. So you can get information from humans to structured output via the voice interface, if you want it like this. So and this opens new possibilities for automations and efficiency, which were just not possible in any earlier times without this technology.
And that's a really interesting point that you made. I just want to dive into that a little bit. So because API is meaning that two different systems can connect to each other. Like if I
Yes.
have, for example, Gmail and Excel, and maybe that Excel number can pull into the email that I'm going to write or something like that. But what you're saying is that for companies that maybe are a little bit more low tech, like if I'm a manufacturing company that is a little bit old school, or if I'm even a logistics company that has handwritten data, will mean you have this experience of handwritten data and proof of delivery becomes digital by a photo. But what you're saying now is that actually the interface, like the software interface, is actually someone talking on the phone, because
Exactly.
that's where the data comes from. It doesn't have to come from a database. It actually comes from the person talking that
Exactly.
gets pulled into this AI.
Logistics is a very good example, because of course on the upper end you have the super modern trucks which have the positioning system already in there and are super connected, and telemetry data is transferred. But the reality is a lot of logistics companies have trucks which are 20 plus years old. There's nothing connected, and the drivers don't have a laptop open which is connected and emits the status in real time. You have to call the driver and ask, where are you? Why does it take so long? Or did you have an incident? Or are you still alive? And so on. And this is also a good example where you say, hey, usually, of course, they at least have a mobile phone with them, and you just could have the AI call them if there is a delay and so on, and then they can give a status update, and then you have it automated already, even with them only having a mobile phone without any connectivity or database or automated telemetry data and so on. And this is a good example as well. So every every time you kind of only have a mobile phone or a landline or a voice messaging system, this is the opportunity to use this technology to get real-time information out of it and even process it then real-time. So if you build the infrastructure in-house and have it there and upgrade it and get more digitized, you can use it even for points in your architecture or in your business where you probably cannot easily digitize it on yourself, or very often you have dependencies on other vendors which are just not at the state or then have these new connectivity systems, and you can just let the AI call them and gather the information in real time.
David, do you think this is kind of like before we always had different suggestions around first steps, but is this kind of like the new first step that you would say now, that people would go through and look to see how many calls in and out are coming to their company and kind of start there with thinking of AI or automation?
Yeah,
Or
I think it depends on the industry, since we see very different channels depending on the users. So when you're user based, when you're a B2C company and you have quite young audience, then they don't like telephones at all. So you might have a very low rate on phone calls. There, WhatsApp and Instagram and these channels might be more interesting. But we see companies which still have elderly people, for example, as a target audience, and their phone is still a very viable channel, because elderly people don't like to tap around on a smartphone or type long emails. They just call you. And for these industries where you still have these heavy telephone heavy workflows, you have to look into this, because it's even with this Hugging Face demo where they run it on local models. It means that they run this for the infrastructure costs only. And I mean, you don't need to run a complete data center to have one of these models talking. To just talk with a human and to structure the data is a low-level task for a large language model. So it's not researching, it's not finding something new, it's not writing code. It's having a conversation and extract the topics and the information which is relevant. And that's kind of the 101 for large language models. The interesting part is now, of course, it's a little bit more technical with the decoding and audio file. And so there is some technical challenge under the hood. But with all these software solutions which are there now, you can stitch them together that you literally only have to run the server, which even doesn't need to be the most beefy machine out there. So you won't pay thousands of dollars or euros a month for a server. You can have this quite cheap in terms of infrastructure, and still have this advantage of this new technology that you have a very natural voice agent and large language model in speech-to-speech mode. And this is kind of, I think, where really it pops, because you can run it on your own infrastructure. You can run it for kind of low costs with still a high quality, and you are not dependent on these big providers so that you have to spend then, I don't know, $10 per minute.
David, thanks so much. So I think just so that we keep it nice and short for anyone wanting to make some decisions around their business. So this week, the exciting thing is that voice, calling in, calling out, all these things that have to do with telephone are now possible, a lot more, a lot faster with AI and automations. The costs are quite reasonable for you and your organization, so you should definitely look into it. And then the other piece of this is you can actually create models that sit inside of your own system. So if you're at a point now that you're trying to digitize and create a system that actually works now and in the future, this is a wonderful piece of information for you. Hope this helps. And if you have any questions, reach out, and love to see your comments. And until next week, talk soon. Thanks again, David.
Yeah, thank you. See you. Bye.